What's up, folks? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Indie Showcase. This is a game I am so excited to show you guys because, wow, it has really blown my mind and exceeded what were, frankly, pretty high expectations that I had for it. And while any of you folks who are retro gamers are instantly going to recognize what this is, it is a new Streets of Rage game, the first one we've had, or at least mainline one that we've had in over 25 freaking years. It is officially blessed and endorsed by SEGA, and oh my god, it's so good. So I did a multi-hour live stream of this with my friend and fellow streamer Esva the other day, and we had an absolute blast. This game I had high hopes for, and it has exceeded them multifold. This is probably going to be a longer video because I'm going to have a lot to talk about here, especially from the technical end of this on PC. But there are going to be time links in the description below that will allow you to skip past that if you're not interested in it. I don't have access to that YouTube chapters thing yet, but when I get it, I'll put those in there for you as well. So this is developed by Dotemu, or Emu, I never know how to pronounce it. They're a French company who has done a lot of conversions of older games to run on newer systems and additional entries in those series as well. They also did a remake of a Wonder Boy game, Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap, a while ago that was quite well received as well. And they have just put this out. There are 3 different studios involved in this. There is them. There is Lizard Cube, which are the same people who did that Wonder Boy game, and another developer called Guard Crush Games. And these people knew who they were making this for, but we're going to get into that. So it's on everything. It's on the PC, it is on Steam, it is on Xbox, it is on Switch, it is on PlayStation 4, and better yet, if you have Xbox Game Pass, both the PC and console versions are in that. So you got a lot of ways to play this, not necessarily for a lot. I got a press code for the Steam version, so that's what I'm going to show you guys. And it also has some extra bells and whistles for the PC. 25 bucks US, which is maybe a bit much for a brawler, especially because brawlers are a hard thing to get right these days. I think it's worth it just because of the amount of content that's in here. But yeah, I'm going to show you guys that here. I really can't speak highly enough about this. We have had such a good time, and this is the way you modernize a brawler. Like, it really, really is. So, I'm not going to show you this whole intro here, because the video is going to be long enough already, but you'll see a little bit here. So, they came up with a new art style for this. And I'm not going to lie, when I initially saw screenshots of this and saw it in motion at PAX, I was skeptical. I was like, it looks like they got a good idea here, but I didn't like the way it looked animated, and I didn't like the amount of cell shading that was going on, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. No, they got it. I think if you were going to modernize the original 16-bit art style from the Genesis and Mega Drive of Streets of Rage, this is one of the best ways you could have done it. Revitalizing old series like this and doing them right, especially in genres like this, is something only a handful of developers in the world I think could get it right. One of them is Way Forward, another one is Dotemu, and they did pretty well. Alright, so this is the technical stuff that I want to show you guys here. First things first, this game, you can play it by yourself. You can play it with up to 4 people locally, or up to 2 people online. Full online play, out of the box, very rare thing we see these days. Kudos, and the netcode works great. Esfa is in the UK, so he ain't exactly got a short ping from me. And we had a perfect experience. We got sort of a disconnect lock once, which I believe was because one of our internet connections blipped, not because of the game. So, from a technical end, on the PC in particular, holy crap, they did basically everything you could have asked for. If you go into the input setup, you can rebind all your keys and buttons for each individual controller connected. It is not limited to one configuration for everybody. There is even what's called a legacy mode, which makes it play a lot more like you were using a 3-button Genesis controller. See, there's only 3 buttons in use there. Incredible. I only use the regular mode. Esfa tried out legacy mode and he said it worked very well. Obviously, I have a controller plugged in. You can play this with a keyboard if you want. Not the ideal way to play it in my opinion, but certainly doable. And there it is. There's even a legacy mode for the bloody keyboard. How cool is that, right? Audio. You can have it play the original retro soundtrack by the legend himself, Yuzo Koshiro, or you can play a modernized version of it. Both are very good. I have played both of them. I like them both quite a bit. Video. Like, okay, look at this. You can adjust the screen shake. You can adjust your gamma and luminosity, not something that happens a lot in a game like this. Full screen, obviously. Button icons. You got a PS4 controller on your PC? How about a Switch controller? Yep, it knows them all. Not a lot. More games are doing this. Not enough of them are. Again, wicked props for that. Now, the only thing is, I think, is that it only shows one set of prompts. So the game, I don't think, is smart enough to recognize if you have multiple controllers plugged in. So if you have this for player 1 and then a PS4 controller for player 2, it won't know to prompt each player separately. Not that huge a deal. Advanced options. Check this out. Yeah, there are well-regarded AAA games that don't have options menus this detailed. This is bloody bananas. Yeah, so you can adjust the quality levels of all of these different things. This game can also be scaled down to potato, I think, if you want. It'll even show you the bloody frame rate. Now, the game is capped at 60, but this being a 2D game, to me, doesn't make a big difference. It plays fine. But, in addition to that, if you are running on an older system, you can actually do this. Now, I can't test this because I'm running on a 1080 Ti here on a Ryzen 3700X. I'm just not dropping below 60. But when you're setting up your VSync, you can actually have the game prioritize low input latency over a higher frame rate. You can basically have it say, I want the game to be more responsive than buttery smooth. I can't remember the last game I've seen that does that. That's amazing. Super kudos to them for that. There is resolution scaling. Sadly, you cannot go above 100%. I would love to have been able, with the card I have, I could probably boost this to 300% and still keep the same level of performance. That would be nice. Not the end of the world. And yes, there are post effects available. You can have it bloom, retro CRT. You can do all of those things that a lot of retro gamers love to do on compilations and things like that. Never really been my jam, but they accommodated you, and that is fan-friggin-tastic. HUD options. Player counts for arrows. Player bar as in your health bar. Enemies. The combo counter. There's a combo system in this. We'll get into that. The thing where it goes when you've cleared out all the enemies and it's telling you to go forward. You can turn that off. Score messages. You can show your bloody ping to your online co-op partner. Like, what even? And then this is possibly the coolest thing ever. You can change what your food items look like for small health and big health. Completely unnecessary. Nobody would have required this of them. That's the original. But you can do this, which are like donuts. And of course, the big food one, that's a poutine. I'm Canadian. Duh. But look, there's the normal one. Like, just a cute little attention to detail. Nobody needed that. But it's so cool that it's there, and I love it for it. Yeah, and that's just the technical end of things. Like, there's a ton of extra content in this that you unlock by doing stuff. There is a redonkulous amount of concept art and things like that. A lot of people call these pretty low effort, and they're like, concept art, yeah, that was hard to do. Maybe it's true, but I don't know, I like this stuff. The only thing I would have loved is if you could turn these into wallpapers. Like, if you could say, save this out to the hard drive so that I could set it as my computer's background, I would love that, because some of these things are really cool, especially if you had an ultra-wide monitor. That, like, stuff like this, super cool. But in theory, you could screen cap this as well if you could zoom it in right, but it probably wouldn't work very well. Full info on all the different characters in the game, and oh yeah, you see that? Yeah, we're gonna get to that. So there's some other characters in this. You unlock a bunch of people as you go. I haven't unlocked everyone yet. You unlock them by reaching certain total score targets. So every time you get score in a level, it adds it to your global total, and then you unlock things as you go. And the unlocks are not super painful. So, yeah. There's the story core mode. There is a stage select mode that you can go through. And I haven't done any of the stage select, so it looks like everything's locked, even though I've beaten the story. There is arcade mode, which is literally how far can you get in one credit. Yes, indeed. There is boss rush, and there is a battle mode. This is just two characters duking it out fighting game style. It's kind of throwaway, it's not very competitive, it's not balanced very well, but it's cool that it's here. All of these modes can be played online. In addition to that, you see this. Join online games. Yes, indeed. So when you go online, you can make your game private and invite your friend if you want, or you can make it public. If it's public, it's drop in, drop out. So these are people who are actively playing right now and don't have a partner. It's not very much. I'm recording this on a weekday afternoon, so it's not very busy right now. But I can just hit this, dive right into their game, and start playing with them on whatever mode they're on. Super awesome. Really, really like that. It's seamless. It works great. And this is, as I understand it, the way it works on all platforms, even the Switch. Fantastic. And it's got a little bit of a tutorial thing here. Very basic. Just tells you how stuff goes. So, you want to start a story game. So here it is. And when you start this, actually we're going to clear that. Yeah, you got these levels. You got your easy, you got your normal, you got your hard, you got your hardest, and you've got your mania. Look at what they describe as mania. This difficulty isn't even remotely fair. Recommended for Streets of Rage maniacs only. Yeah. So Esfa and I beat this on normal. It is not a pushover. Not at all. We did upgrade it to hard for the arcade mode, and we got pretty far in 1 credit. Hard doesn't seem that much harder. Doesn't look like the enemies necessarily have any less health, but that they might hit you harder. I'm not sure. I have not tried hardest or mania yet. It is probably banana cakes. But we're going to start on this. Now, we've unlocked a few characters. You start with Adam locked. You unlock him fairly quickly. Then you're going to see these 3, which are Dash SOR1. Oh yeah, you can bring in the old school players from the Genesis games, and they slide into this. I'm going to show you that later. So let's just pick Axel here to start, the new version. And this game has a story. It's incredibly cheesy, just like the original Streets of Rage, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You start with your text scroll here. Basically, the children of the original villain are now in charge and screwing things up. You got to go after them. So we're just going to skip ahead on that. You can see that. There are little sort of comic book cutscenes in between each mission. They're fairly quick. They're fairly basic, but it does the job. And here you are. So check out this art style. Am I right? Now, I may be misremembering, but some of the original versions of this art style that I saw were not super amazingly detailed, and the animation, I was kind of like, I don't know. I may be misremembering, but all of those fears went out the window about 2 minutes after I started this. This is wonderful, and I think this is exactly the way you modernize a Streets of Rage game in this day and age and make it look modern. Yeah. So, this plays very much like the original. You've got a light attack, which you can combo up in different ways. You've got a heavy attack, and you can jump on people. There's also weapons that certain enemies will drop, and these can always be picked up and either used against them. Oh, you bugger. Or you can do this. Yeah, you can throw it. There are additional weapons in this as well, and some of them are very clever, and some of them have achievements tied to using them in different ways. There's also environmental things that you can use. Similarly, you have grapple attacks. You have, if you've played a brawler, or especially the Streets of Rage series, you're going to very quickly recognize everything. Now, there's a couple of additions that we talked about, I mentioned before. One of them is this combo system that you're seeing here. Yes, indeed. Now, this combo system is shared if you're in multiplayer. So, you're each contributing to a total count of combos. And the benefit of that is if you stack them, the higher you stack it up, the more points you get. You see I got a bonus of 87 points there because of that. So you can, if you can get the combo up higher, you get more points. And points are both how you get on the leaderboards and how you earn extra lives. Now, unfortunately, this PC version right now has the same problem a lot of games do, which is a bunch of dirtbags are using cheat engine to give themselves scores in the billions that are literally unattainable. Some developers never deal with that. Some do by manually deleting the bad scores or implementing anti-cheat engine measures. They don't appear to have done that here yet, but given how well this game has been received, I really hope that they do something about that, because right now, measuring against your friends, sure. Measuring against the global leaderboard right now is literally pointless, because scumbags are going to scum, and, you know, that's the way that goes, which is a bit disappointing. So, they've also changed up one of the core mechanics of this in a way that I think is really smart. So if I press the Y button, that's the special attack, right? Or your heavy attack. Now, in the older Streets of Rage games, by doing that, you would lose a little bit of health each time you used it. and you had to make sure that you didn't use it too often because you could get yourself screwed. Well, in this case, see what happened there? See how I used it and the health bar has that green segment? Yeah. So the way this works is you see my health regenerated. Yeah, that's what's really cool about this. So if you use a special ability, then you'll have that green segment taken off your health. It doesn't expire. So by damaging enemies after the special attack, you can get that health back. But if you mess up and you get hit, then you lose that segment of that green segment of health and whatever the enemy did to you in damage. So it's a bit of a risk reward. If you really want to mash the Y attack a lot, you can do that. But see, I got screwed there because I used it and therefore I lost a bunch more health. Oh yeah, also watch this reference. This isn't even a Streets of Rage reference, but just wait for it. So see, I'm bringing the health back there. So see, I used it multiple times there, and if I let this guy hit me, watch. See how much I lost there? Really cool mechanic. And yeah, check this out. Anybody, this ringing any nostalgic bells for people? Yeah. That's a Final Fight reference, and there's even an achievement that makes the joke about it. These guys knew what they were making stuff for. Now, of course, you also got your special attacks, and you have noticed I haven't been using it yet. Well, that's what those stars are, and you can earn additional ones. So there it is. You don't get a lot of these, so you got to use them very sparingly, either to help you with bosses or to clear out the screen when you're in a bad situation. The special moves on the new characters are very, very different than the old characters. So I'm going to show you that difference after, because when you want to play with the old Streets of Rage characters, there's actually an interesting counterbalance that they put in place that I think is very smart. So, and you'll see here as well that the levels are a half-decent length. Some of them are short, some of them are longer, but most of them are longer than the levels you would have been used to back in the Genesis era. You know, levels to brawlers back then were typically pretty short. Now this guy here, you're going to see he doesn't have a health meter, so this is just a mid-boss. This isn't even a real boss. But you see there, just like most brawlers, every enemy has a health bar that is tracked individually that you can see underneath. And this guy has multiple layers of health, but he is not the final boss. And if you're good at your combos and stuff, you can air juggle people, you can do things like that. And the game also does that really neat thing where it actually telegraphs for you how far away you are from it for an extra life. So it's like, hey, just so you know, if you structure things right, you're going to get an extra life pretty quick. You get extra lives in the story mode way quicker than you do in the arcade mode. And yeah, so they've changed things up a little bit in ways that I think are smart and nifty improvements while maintaining the core of what makes the Streets of Rage games good. This is a very hard thing to do. Brawlers are a tough genre to modernize because brawlers were built around the arcades and they were built around taking your money. They were hard to the point of being unfair, and they were very, very short. And that's why the genre has largely not progressed very far, and you don't see a lot of them these days. With the exceptions of a few amazing titles like Fight and Rage, which I've done a video on. You can go check that out in the upper right corner if you want. There have not been a lot of modern-day brawlers made, and fewer still that are even really that good. These guys figured it out. They figured out how to make a game that has enough new content in it and enough new mechanics to make it worth the asking price. You're not paying $30 for a game that's going to be over in 45 minutes if you continue scum your way through it, which is the way older brawlers would work. It's not, they've done enough stuff to make it appealing to modern gamers. At the same time, they know exactly who this was for and who to go after first. So many publishers don't get this in this day and age. They don't understand that when you're making a game based on an old IP, dragging in new people who've never heard of it is not your path to success. Your path to success is appealing to the old school players. Here's the first boss. Your path to success is appealing to the old school players, the people who loved this stuff back in the day. but adding in enough modern amenities to appeal to both them and the demands of new players. And what happens is the people who love the old games hype up it to new players, and they bring new people in with them. So many publishers and even smaller developers often try to go about it the backwards way, which is appeal to the new player base, arguably to as many people as possible. You see here the bosses have their own power moves that they can use like that, and they'll telegraph them like that. Whoops, I stepped into that. And their idea is to try to get as broad appeal as possible with new players, and go, oh, you know, those older school players, they don't really matter anyway. They're not, you know, they're not the real customer base, and maybe we'll sell to a few of them, but who really cares what they think? No, with games like this, that is wrong, 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 and I've been saying that for so many years. And a lot of the smaller developers these days who are making these modern retro titles, people like, to a point, Devolver Digital, Night Dive, even places like New Blood and things like that, and especially the new 3D Realms, they get it. They understand that when you're making a game in an old IP, you want to appeal to those old fans first, make them happy. They alone are probably actually, because they're older people with money now, and they are still passionately invested in this stuff. A lot of us are, and they can make your game a success on its own, and then they'll bring people with them and make it an even bigger success. And that's definitely what Dotemu recognizes, and it seems they convinced SEGA of it too. And I am so happy they managed to do that, because from what I can tell, just based on the Steam review count, this game is doing really well. And which hopefully means that SEGA is going to go, wow, when you appeal to things this way, look what can happen. And there we go, stage 1 done. And I hope this means better things. The one thing everybody on my stream when I played this the other day was saying is, so when are we going to get this, when are we going to get a remake collection of Streets of Rage 1 through 3 with this visual treatment? And I'm like, yes, please. And that might happen. This is done so well now that Dotemu can probably go back to SEGA and go, hey, yo, people want this stuff. How about we remake the old one? Or how about you give us another franchise to work on? How about we do eSWAT? How about we do Outrun? How about we do Hang On? How about we do Space Harrier? How about any of these other amazing properties? And that's just SEGA. You know, you could do so much more with IPs from any of these companies. Incredible stuff. So here's a little cutscene here. I'm not going to do that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the menu because I have to show you what happens when you play with the Streets of Rage 1 characters. Because this, with Esfa and I, this blew our bloody minds yesterday. We were squeeing like little fanboys. It was amazing. All right, so let's start this over again. So you got the original 3 characters here, right? You can also unlock Streets of Rage 2 and 3 variants. I'm not there yet. But watch this. He looks all pixely, right? Heard that sound effect, right? Oh yeah, just you wait. Also, this game, at least on PC, has basically instantaneous load times. This is running off a mechanical hard drive, not an SSD, and it's instant. Look at this. It's his original animation, yet he runs at 60 frames a second. And it's literally a big pixel guy in this modern world, and he even has like the 4 kilobit samples. But look, he's affected by the lighting. Like, it's an unbelievably perfect blending of old and new. I cannot believe how good a job they did of this. And he plays in a way that fits. Now, here's the trade-off I talked about. Because in the original Streets of Rage, there was no Y attack. There was no heavy. All they had was their regular punch and their special. So there is no Y attack in this. Pressing the Y button summons the special. And just a minute, we'll get to that. But he is much easier. The Streets of Rage 1 variant of this character is much more easy to combo with just the punches. So you see he's much faster than the other characters, and he combos stuff together. He's almost OP to a certain degree, because I had a couple of bosses that I was actually basically able to cheese lock into a corner. Because he was punching so fast that they didn't get a chance to fight back. So there is that. But oh, wait for it. So You want to see the coolest thing? So, okay, so there's the sound effect. All right. You know what? I'm a little overrun here. I think I got to do this. I got to bring in the special. What's it going to do? It's so awesome! It actually brings in the ridiculous Streets of Rage 1 thing where there's always a car that comes in off screen and just shoots a friggin' rocket in. How amazing is that? Like, Esfa and I never expected that to happen, and we were just giggling like mad when it did. We were like, that is absolute perfection. There is no better way you could represent this iconic old school character in this new game and still have it work. Like, the visuals blend, the fighting style fits in, the special, they found a way to make his old school special move work, even though all the new characters have nothing that looks remotely like that. All the new characters have specials that are tied in directly to the screen. They don't have the call in from off screen kind of thing. And I only imagine that they have variants of those for the Streets of Rage 2 and 3 characters as well. Again, this didn't have to be here at all. These old school character models, and especially integrated into the game the way they are, no one would have faulted this game if they weren't here at all. And certainly, no one probably would have faulted them if they were in the game, but only for a visual thing, i.e., it's a skin for an existing player, but it has the same movesets and plays the same way. It's just, oh look, cute nostalgia because pixel art, isn't that funny? I wouldn't have faulted them for that, and I don't think most people would have either. If they weren't here, the game is called Streets of Rage 4. It's a new game. I wouldn't have expected really any ties to the old school game except for reminiscent gameplay. But no, they put in that amount of work to put in the old characters and make them fit. They made unlocks that were actually bloody worthwhile. They made unlocks that weren't just concept art and, you know, simple cosmetics. They made stuff that actually pays real, proper tribute and homage to those old characters. Well bloody done, people. In case you can't tell by watching this video, this has blown my mind. Honestly, I know most people wouldn't. I could have paid twice the price for this game and I'd still be, I mean, I didn't pay anything for it, but if I bought it, I could pay twice the price for this game and I still would have been satisfied. Incredibly so. They did such a fantastic job with this. They straddled the line absolutely perfectly from tickling the nostalgia bone of old school players, that was a weird phrase, and appealing to those old school players who have fond memories of the Genesis games and who have maybe bought the SEGA Ages collections on modern consoles so that they can play those old games, and changing enough to make the games appealing to new players, to make them accessible so that everyone can play them, and adding enough content to it that this wouldn't feel like a ripoff because it's too short. This doesn't feel like that at all. Between all the different modes, the online play, the difficulties, and the fact that I believe there's 12 stages in this as opposed to the normal 5 of most Streets of Rage games. Other than maybe crossplay, which isn't really necessary, and obviously leaderboards that have not already been hacked to bits, I don't really think there's much more I could have asked for from this game. In the distant past, I gave Dotemu some crap for a really badly made Double Dragon collection that they put out on PC. But since then, they have shown themselves to be an incredible team with incredible talent between this and Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap and some of the stuff their Arcade Crew division has been putting out. These guys are also making a sequel to Windjammers, which some people are going to know, especially old school arcade fans and Giant Bomb fans, are going to know is a game that it is very hard to get right. Some have tried, everybody's failed. But Dotemu and their Arcade Crew people are working on one, and I think they could nail it. Like I said, Way Forward is one developer I would trust to get this right. Way Forward did it right recently with River City Girls, which was another classic brawler series that I think they modernized incredibly well. I actually think this is better, but not by much. And I am so happy to see these things finally happening, these older school genres and franchises getting a new lease on life, and most importantly, the big public companies who own them actually letting them breathe and trusting other devs with them and going, yeah, you know what? You guys we're going to let you guys try this because you know how to modernize and make these things better than we do. And we want to see what you can do. And it's working. People are responding to it. This game looks to already be a huge success. People get it. And there is a market for this. And I am part of that market. So it makes me incredibly happy to see. But yeah. Oh yeah. Other little thing as well. If you're having too hard a time in certain difficulty modes, you can retry and pick assists if you want. Speaking of modern quality of life touches. This is everything I wanted out of a new Streets of Rage and several more besides. They completely outdid themselves. I didn't come into this with low expectations. I had a high bar for quality, and they've gone way past it. Way past it. And I really am glad this game exists. I'm really glad it's done so well, and I am really happy that Dotemu got this opportunity and didn't squander it. They absolutely killed it with this, so congratulations to them. If you are into brawlers, and especially if you are into Streets of Rage, for the love of God, go get this and support it and support the cause. It's everywhere. It's on Game Pass on PC and console. This enhanced version with more options is on Steam. It is on Switch. It is on PS4. Go get it. It's fantastic. I would love to see Dotemu start a little chat with Capcom about doing this with Final Fight. Guys, get yourselves in a room for real, because, ooh, I would love that so much. You know, back in the day, you were either typically a Streets of Rage guy or a Final Fight guy. I liked both, but I was a Final Fight guy first, and a modern version of that, oh, mwah, make it happen. Seriously. Yes, folks, that is Streets of Rage 4, developed by Dotemu, Guard Crush Games, and Lizard Cube. It is everywhere, as I said. If you want to buy it straight up, it's $25 US. May seem like a lot. I don't think it is. I would have paid that without batting an eye, I'm telling you what. And if you want to pick it up on PC, you see at the top there's a Fanatical thing. Yes, there are affiliate links in the description below. If you want to buy a Steam key from one of those places, it would help me out. That helps me get access to more cool stuff to show you, and any money I get from it gets donated to Extra Life, so you can support a good cause that way too. All right, this has gone on long enough. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy what you saw here, please consider liking the video, click the subscribe button, click the bell so you get notifications on future videos. And if you want to share your nostalgic memories of Streets of Rage 4 or Streets of Rage in general, or want to talk about your experiences with this, leave a comment down below. I would love to talk to my fellow nostalgia nuts about this because this has been an incredible surprise, and this is not only a game that I love. So far, it's one of my games of the year, and I'm not even kidding. It's probably going to be in the contender come the end of the year, and that is something it brings me immense pleasure to say. Thank you, folks, very much for watching, and I will see you all on the next Indie Showcase. You folks have a good one. Take it easy.